Atomic Heart is another game that many people are worried might not be coming or maybe not even be a real game. There's a lot of concern about community members analyzing the gameplay, questioning crunch culture at the company, people leaving, just lots of developmental problems, and yet the game just looks absolutely phenomenal. It's another game where when I look at Atomic Heart gameplay, I see fully rendered gameplay that might be tricking us. Very curious to see if this thing actually comes to market, but apparently when it does, they already have post-launch support, details about whether or not there'll be multiplayer. I've got an article from thegamer.com we're going to be taking a look at to sort of see whether or not that takes place. So if you like this video, hit subscribe and the bell button. I want to know what you think in the comments below. Make sure and mention that. And the Gamer has a nice huge advertisement for Into the AM. This isn't a sponsored video, but I am partnered with them, so always remember to use code Lono over there if you buy any shirts. That's hilarious that that's like right there dead center. Little free advertisement for myself. Atomic Heart developer Mundfish has detailed what to expect from the game's already announced 4 DLC packs. According to the team, none of them will bring any multiplayer modes to the shooter, as the studio abandoned the idea long ago. So sorry to shoot down any multiplayer hopes that you had, but for those of us that are really curious if this game's coming to market or not, they already have 4 DLC plans. Like, that's pretty significant. I continue to look at this gameplay. I've got another video that you probably have already seen about the day before. If not, go check it out. Just sort of questioning these games that seem as if we're watching just a bunch of fully rendered gameplay, not raw, genuine recorded gameplay in the engine. It seems like they're sort of kind of, fabricating some stuff to make it look amazing. We've been there before. Watch Dogs and other games sort of historically being terrible about this. So, Bragatuni said that during the development... hang on, I went a little bit too far. Speaking to WCCF Tech recently, Mundfish founder and Atomic Heart game director Robert Bagratuni said that during the development process, the studio made the tough choice to abandon some big ideas, including multiplayer. It was painful to make those kinds of choices, but it was the right decision. Our big ambitions were not always aligned with reality. It was a tough realization, and we had to adjust. So, this doesn't bother me, I'll be honest. I think sort of the age-old debate about a game needing multiplayer, I think is typically overstated by fans of multiplayer. I think plenty of games get along just fine without multiplayer, and I think more and more you're going to see ongoing MMO-style live service games realize that it's extremely complicated to pull it off well, and it can really sort of corrupt balance, focus, and just the general theme of the game. You can do it. I'm not saying you can't do it. It's just a significant challenge. And I think the best PvP games are just that. They're PvP games. The best single-player games are just that. I don't necessarily look at a game like Atomic Heart and think, I really need multiplayer. It would be nice to have co-op, though. I will say that in a lot of times games like this, it would be nice to play through with another person. Whereas some fans might expect that the devs will bring some kind of multiplayer experience as a post-launch update for the game, it seems that that won't be the case here. I typically don't expect that. If the game doesn't launch with it, I'm not expecting it later. Explaining Mundfish's vision for Atomic Heart, Bagratuni, probably is how you say it, I'm probably butchering it no matter what, specifically noted that the entire Atomic Heart experience will be single-player, focusing on the story and characters. Given the theme and the art style of this game, that's not surprising at all. I'm sort of surprised that anybody was looking at this game and thinking there was going to be some sort of a focus on multiplayer. I totally resonate and get the request for co-op, but typically when I see a game like this, I'm like, oh, that's totally going to be single player. It's just going to be a story-driven game, very artistically driven, very crazy world. I just didn't expect it, especially when they didn't really show anything to indicate that you'd be playing with anybody else. I was watching a video recently of a game, and I was like, hey, I think they're playing with somebody else. And then the very next frame was play with your friends. So typically, if a trailer doesn't show me that, I'm not expecting it. It's extra dev time, extra work on enemy AI and combat and how enemies aggro. That gets way more complicated when there can be multiple people in the room. The same is also true as the previously announced 4 DLC packs for the game, currently scheduled to arrive sometime later in 2023. So those of us that are doubtful about this game, they are seemingly ready to go. They don't just have the game ready for 2023. They have 4 DLC packs aimed at coming out in 2023. No multiplayer add-ons are planned at this time, the game director said. The DLCs are intended to greatly expand the player experience with new territories, quests, puzzles, enemies, as well as character and world stories. So, greatly expanding the player experience, you could view that a couple of ways. Very ambitious DLC that will be very substantive. Or those of us that have been concerned about this game being the genuine article and something that's actually going to come to market and look and run in the way that they promoted it, this could be, we're going to get a very small game at the beginning, right? I'm not saying that that's the case, but I feel like this could cut both ways. Just reading this does not automatically make me think, oh man, this game's going to be awesome and huge, and so is its DLC. This could be read multiple ways. I'm typically not the pessimist. There's been a couple of these games that just, there's something off. My radar is sort of like, almost like little red flags are going off, and this is one of those games. And that type of language could just be an insight into just how MVP the game will be when it comes out. MVP, minimum viable product. Like, it's just the basic small game. When you focus tons on graphics, you can end up with an Order 1886, if you guys remember that game. Beautiful and shallow and short. In Bagratooni's words, the studio plans to significantly expand the game's open world with new locations where players will learn more about this unique, extraordinary setting where a confrontation between man and machine reaches new heights. So, if you're looking to expand the game's open world significantly, that again could mean to me, there's a lot of ways to read this, it could mean that the open world needs to be expanded significantly when it first launches. If you really want it to run and be as awesome as they're showing it, the game might need to be a little bit narrow in scope and size. Generally speaking, when you play a game like this, the larger it is, the more challenging it is to maintain that graphical fidelity, especially when you go into big open areas. If you're going to have an open world, one of the first things I noticed about Atomic Heart gameplay was there was a couple of melee swings on some robots. And the damage looked dynamic, meaning it wasn't like a prefab dent or slash. They were literally taking actual slices, dents, and peels from the metal in relation to how the player hit them, like the actual trajectory and sweep path of the melee hit. And I thought, that seems kind of crazy. It almost seemed too good to be true. And the more I've seen the game, the more those sort of alarm bells are getting tripped of like, is this genuine gameplay? Is this just fully rendered? When you take that kind of graphical performance and specificity to damage and representing that damage on an object, and you put it into an open world, I just think it gets way more complicated. With the lack of online component may sound disappointing to some, don't forget that there are already plenty of story-focused first-person shooters without multiplayer out there, which does not prevent them from being great, like BioShock or Prey. This is an excellent point. I think we need to get back to letting games be games. Like, they don't need to be all things. It's okay for a game to just come out and be a great single-player game. I think that that's fine. I don't think you need something to be more than that. It's okay if you do, but I think a lot of the time some of these games come out half-baked and stretched too thin because they're trying to wear too many hats. Better just to own your identity and your core competencies. Just build a good single-player game. I think that's okay. Hopefully, Atomic Heart will deliver on what it has promised to. During the final stretches of development, 130 developers across Poland, Ukraine, Austria, Kazakhstan, Georgia, Israel, Armenia, the UAE, Serbia, and Cyprus have been working on the title, Robert Bagratooni revealed. My brain is hurting about how stretched this team is. Wait a minute. Oh my word. Hold on. Okay, so the title looks crazy ambitious, almost too good to be true, and you got a 130 developer team. That's a pretty good sized team. That's not massive. That's not huge, okay? And you're in that many different places. It's time for more alarm bells and red flags to go off. I've got my brain just kind of going ding, 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 ding. It's like, oh my gosh, that's going to make it really, really hard for this game to launch and be, well built and optimized and bug squashed. Listen, I know we live in a global age, and but there were so many companies that struggled when they had to pivot to working from home. This title just is a peculiar one, and it is right around the corner. Atomic Heart will be launching on February the 21st and is coming to Xbox Game Pass library on day one. Well, in before all the Xbox guys tell me I'm being an Xbox hater. I have wanted this game for a while. I think it looks awesome, but my goodness, those are more details right there at the tail end of that article that makes me go, how? How will this game come to market? We'll have to wait and see. It's just around the corner. It's not going to take long to see if the proof is in the pudding or if the pudding is crap. Anyway, if you liked this video, I want to hear from you. Leave a comment below. What do you think of Atomic Heart? Do you think this game is real? If you like my reaction style content like this, opinion style, I got talk shows every day. Make sure and hit subscribe and the bell button so you don't miss them. So if you enjoyed this video, hit all those buttons so that way I can see you in the next video.